Hello everybody, welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, in deck number 422, we're going to talk about Fblthp the Lost. Before we get into it though, I want to give a shout out to Thiago Ennis, a patron supporter of the channel. Thank you so much, Thiago. And if anyone else would like to become a patron, head on over to Patreon/Cure for the Common Game. And let's talk about our favorite homunculus. Now, I love the fact that they have kept with the idea that homunculus don't have vowels in their name. We only really know of two, Zendersplit and Fblthp, that have been named. All the rest were just generic homunculi. Now, this one's weird. Of course, if it enters the battlefield, draw a card. If it entered from your library or was cast from your library, draw 2 cards instead. Now, when we first saw this, I thought the same thing the entire world did. We thought about Proteus Staff. Now, of course, Proteus Staff, you put a creature, put target creature. I'll read it exactly here because the exact wording matters. Put target creature on the bottom of its owner's library. That creature's controller reveals cards from the top of his or her library until they reveal a creature card. Put the card into play, thus satisfying it came into play from the library, so you would draw 2 cards. Now, this is a sorcery speed ability, which, but anyway. So, the reason why that wording is important is because you can do things like steal a creature from someone and Proteus Staff it. The original creature will go to the bottom of its owner's library, and then you'll mill till you hit a creature. So, I went from Fblthp to Proteus Staff, and then I was like, well, if I'm doing the Proteus Staff thing, I kind of want Time Stream Navigator. I've had it since Rivals Ixalan came out. Haven't put it in any deck, by the way. This has got to... this card is not foil, but I would imagine that I don't need to see the foil card because just the art, it would be amazing, and I don't need to experience that. Anyway, take an extra so you put the Navigator on the bottom of your library and take an extra turn, and then you Proteus Staff Fblthp. This is the only creature in the deck. That's it. This is it. Only creature. So. But you know what? That's not enough for a deck because I don't have a lot of ways to search out the Proteus Staff or the Time Stream Navigator. So I said, you know what? It's Fblthp. We're going to do something different here. We're going to play with all the cards that I've always wanted to play with that are too terrible to play or too, just... okay, don't build this deck. I wouldn't even watch the video. Just turn it off and go to the next one because this is absolutely shenaniganery. Okie dokie. So first off, Voltaic Key, just in case we want a Proteus Staff twice a turn. I'm using the Voltaic Key and the Galvanic Key. Why not? Mana-wise, I'm using the Relic, since we already are kind of doing the Ascend thing. Why not? And Spectral Searchlight. That's right, even the rocks are bad. Library of Ling, Spellbook, because we might be drawing some cards. Now, Shape Anew could possibly get us Proteus Staff. We don't really know what we're getting, and that's the whole fun, you know. But check this out. Prototype Portal. Okay? Enters the battlefield, you exile an artifact card from your hand, and then you create a token that's a copy of the exile card. Right? Are you with me? And you're thinking you can get a whole bunch of Proteus Staffs, right? Well, you could also get other things, you know. But what made me laugh was Pithing Needle. Just to keep getting copies of Pithing Needle. Got the Rito Lantern, put target card in a graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library. This can help if somebody kills your Time Stream Navigator or whatever. Or it's good defensively to put all those cards that your Gitrog or Muldroth or whatever deck has to have. You can just put them back in their library. Now, like I said, I'm running the suite of control magic cards because that way, in order to reliably get the Proteus Staff thing off, you can't have any other creatures. I mean, you've got to be able to dependably hit that card. So, but we've got to have creatures. So, control magic, mind control, confiscate, ray of command, take possession, reigns of power, and then I even went so far as to do other things that are to get us creatures. All of the blue amass cards. Sure, why not? It puts out a token, but yet this is not a creature. Relentless Advance, which by all rights should never ever be played. I mean, Fblthp Plating. Dance of Many. I really like the Dance of Many as far as a weird clone variant, because you can actually bounce the Dance of Many back to your hand and well, I guess you could do that with clone anyway, but it's kind of a different, weird kind of thing. Phyrexian Processor. Sorry, I bought an entire case of Phyrexia versus Coalition in this language. It was really cheap, but Phyrexian Processor, 4 mana. When it comes into play, you pay any amount of life, spend 4 mana and tap it. You get a black minion token with power toughness equal to the life you paid. So, kind of neat. It also kind of doubles as a win condition. So, we have the Processor as a win con, and then we have the Keening Stone as a win con. I do believe that may be it as far as our win conditions. I mean, maybe we Fblthp Beatdown. I don't. You can't equip it. You can't. Anyway. And then, of course, we have Thopter Spy Network. This is going to give us the Thopter that we can staff away. Now, since I was doing all of the steely shenanigan things, I went ahead and did Steel Artifact. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, think about it. How many times have somebody said, I'm going to play this card, and you're going to like, what does that do? I'm going to cast Steel Artifact. You know what that does? It steals an artifact. Kind of like Steel Enchantment. All those easy names are used up long ago, I guess. Running Mystic Remora, which is not a bad card. Some card draw for us. Oh, this is my last High Tide. I have no more High Tides in the Fallen Empires binder, so that's an issue. The Dictate of Krufix, a little bit of card draw. Draftness Restoration for when they destroy our Proteus Staff, because it will happen. A Ponder, a Twin Cast. See, I mean, check this out. Latnam's Legacy. That's right. I'm sure glad this card is an instant, because if it wasn't, it would really, really be terrible. Choose a card from your hand, shuffle it into your library to draw 2 cards. Because we are putting Fblthp in our library, we need a way. What if we draw him? Do we need a way to put it, or the time stream, get it back into the library? Deluge is just going to tap everything that doesn't fly. Mana Leak, we probably shouldn't be. I don't know. Political Trickery is in there so that I can steal Homeward Pass. That's it. Yeah, there's a lot of good lands we can steal, but if we're, I guess stealing of the creatures is probably a win con too. So I got 2 Planeswalkers, Kasmina and Narset. That way, just to keep everybody honest. Now, let's look at the weird. Well, okay, a lot of these are not really weird. Let's go through some counter magic first. Hydroblast, Negate, Dream Fracture, counter and card draw, hey. Spell Crumple kind of goes with the theme of putting stuff on the bottom of player's library. I don't know. And Hinder. No, Danny, I don't have a Tunnel Vision in the deck it ain't because I didn't look. Because for all the rest of you viewers, buddy of mine, Danny, y'all have heard me talk about Danny. The patrons, y'all have seen him in the gameplay videos. Years ago, he hindered Tunnel Vision me, and it was glorious. I couldn't even be upset. An Ice Cave. Now, here we go on things that we probably shouldn't play. Yeah, I've always wanted to play Ice Cave. Whenever a player plays a spell, any other player may pay that spell's mana cost to counter it. Mana cost does include the color. So, that's neat. A lot of times, people will counter for you. We're playing mono blue, but we're more than likely there's a lot of multicolor decks at the table. Let's talk about cowardice. Why should Fblthp be the only one to suffer? Whenever a creature becomes a target of spells or abilities, bounce it. Yeah. And then I've got really cutesy things like puppet strings. Hey, tap it. Oh, it gets bounced. That's right. Since we are not playing, heavy creatures and Sunken Hope, at the beginning of your upkeep, just bounce a creature to your hand. Everybody does it, so that can get annoying pretty quick. Let's look. I'm going to read Psychic Battle. Whenever a player chooses one or more targets, each player reveals the top card of his or her library. The player who reveals... Oh, you clash. Everybody at the table clashes. And then whoever wins the clash gets to redirect. That's cool. Portcullis. There can only be 2 creatures in play. Well, I'd say that you play the Portcullis. If any creature comes into play, if there are 2 or more, you set it aside. They're waiting at the door, as it were. Boomerang's just good utility stuff. Exhaustion for that one person that's like gunning for you. I had to put Totally Lost in there, right? And it had to be this art. Had to be. Ovenize, some removal. Sleep. I don't know that sleep is removal as so much as player removal, because a properly timed sleep and you can end somebody's day. Now, granted, we won't have a creature force, but because we don't have a creature force, we need to use everybody else's creatures to do our bidding for us. This is, as I stated earlier, not a stellar deck, but you need some political savvy to make it happen. Polymorph. This can work in a pinch. Because you're targeting, if you target Fblthp, obviously it's going to get shuffled in, and then you can, you may actually get Fblthp out of the, so bad. Auraflux. Yeah, we have some enchantments, and some of these cards are kind of counterintuitive as to, nombos, but hey. So, Auraflux. Each enchantment gains an upkeep cost of 2. Energy Flux. Artifacts have an upkeep cost of 2. Pendril Mist. Creatures have an upkeep cost of 1. How's that fair? I guess if they'd have made it 2, this would have been really, really too good. And then, of course, we have the Jordan here, the Fadeaway. Because, let's face it, how many times, I draw Fadeaway, and I look around the table a lot of times, and I'm like, wow, everybody but one player's tapped out. this can be a board wipe. It really totally can. I am running Time Stop because, you know, why not? It's one of those cards I always wanted to run. Last two cards, Split Decision. Now, choose target instant or sorcery spell, starting with you. Pretty much, this is one of those from the original Conspiracy where you don't get something for all the votes. You just get whatever wins. Now, yes, this is the only voting card I am running, but I am totally running Illusion of Choice because I'm tired of people screwing up Expropriate math. I am. Because I have Expropriate is such an awesome card. Obviously not in the deck because it's like a gajillion dollars now. But it's... always give them the permanent. Give them your best permanent every time. Don't let them take... Because they've already chosen to take an extra turn. Because they get to pick first. And then you're giving them a free time stretch. Super time stretches, probably. Most of the time in a big game, I have seen Expropriate player take 3 or 4 turns. And I'm like, why? So, yes, it may never happen. It may be years before I get to, in response, Illusion of Choice, somebody's Expropriate. But you know what? It is going to be an amazing feeling when it happens. It'll be worth every time it was a dead card. And, you know, if nothing else, it's a 1-mana instant draw card. Let's look at our non-basics here. Seed of the Synod, because, you know, hey, that's an artifact you could imprint, and just, since you're paying the CMC of it and tapping the artifact you could crank out a Seed of Synod every turn, which, you know, kind of not bad. Of course, the Remote Isle and the Lonely Sandbar for cycling lands. Represent scary there. I mean, you know, yeah, it does come into play tapped, but you can thereafter tap it for 2 mana. Two colored. So that's, I mean, yeah. You get to do it twice, but... And then, of course, we have Gargoyle Castle as our sole Air Force. It also creates a token, but... Yeah, it is probably one of the most random, unthemed decks that I have ever built. But I wanted to stay true to the Proteus Staff Fblthp combo with the Time Stream Navigator. So it is possible to just continually... I mean, it would require many turns, a lot of setup, but you could take all the turns. How we're going to win at that point, I mean, we would have to, like, have the processor out or the Keening Stone or something and just mill or damage or whatever. If it happens and the table lets it happen, hey, it deserves the win. That is what I have got for Fblthp. I know it's probably not the most strategic deck out there, but you know what? It looks like a ton of fun to play. As usual, the deck list is out on Archidect, deck number 422. And I appreciate y'all watching, but right now, I think we're going to shuffle and cut.